Hey guys, Joel with coreCLEAR. We're going to give everybody a chance to show up. And I know I'm usually late for things, so just enjoy this beautiful song that I spent all morning writing just for this occasion. So I'm going to mute myself and we'll be right back.
Built to please. In a world of complexity, we cut through the haze. coreCLEAR simplifies, paving the way with intuitive design and the power to amaze. We're transforming workflows, setting new standards ablaze. coreCLEAR, it's the answer to your needs, shining bright like a beacon where efficiency leads. Streamlining your processes, making work a breeze. coreCLEAR, our solutions built to please. In a world of complexity, we cut through the haze. coreCLEAR simplifies, paving the way with intuitive design and the power to amaze. We're transforming workflows, setting new standards ablaze. coreCLEAR, it's the answer to your needs, shining bright like a beacon where efficiency leads. Streamlining your processes, making work a breeze. coreCLEAR, our solutions built to please. From the heart of your operations to the edge of your dreams, coreCLEAR's the solution where clarity beams. With seamless integration and unmatched speed, we're here to empower, to help you succeed. coreCLEAR, it's the answer to your needs, shining bright like a beacon where efficiency leads. Streamlining your processes, making work a breeze. coreCLEAR, our solutions built to please. So let's raise a toast to the clarity we bring. With coreCLEAR in your corner, you're ready for anything. For a future that's brighter and workflows that flow, coreCLEAR's the solution. Let's let the whole world know.
So today, ACH, ATM, and coreCLEAR. This finance stuff's so confusing. I'm glad we've got Aaron, who is our COO, and he's here to kind of give us some clarity on this stuff. And it's going to be a pretty quick webinar, so make sure you have your questions handy. We've got Josh Weinstein here as well to field some questions. So anybody that has a question, throw it in the comments there, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. So, Aaron, why don't you come on, introduce yourself a little bit better than I did, because I'm really, really awkward in these social settings. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Weinstein. I'm the COO of coreCLEAR, and it's glad to have everybody out here. Is there a way I can actually see how many people are watching right now, Joel? I can't quite see. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, we keep that's confidential.
That's confidential.
Because we don't want everybody to know that we've actually got 2,200 people watching right now.
There we go. Well, I'm glad to have everybody here that's watching, and I'm sure you guys are interested in learning more as far as, kind of what we're going to be talking about today in regards to ACH and, kind of the alternative payment methods in regards to merchant processing, especially for those of us that are involved in the shooting sports industry. Our vision here at coreCLEAR is we always want to have alternative, and we're striving to providing alternative solutions to where we're never potentially ever being faced with direct locks or anything that could, affect our business, because unfortunately, in our space, we are affected from politics and other natures and private decisions. And unfortunately, with a lot of tech companies and financial institutions that are very driven from a political standpoint. So being able to offer more payment solutions, alternative payment solution options is a big thing that we're really excited and that we're really trying to strive for at the end of the day. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can lower transaction fees, how we can talk about streamlining some of the processes, and some of the kind of the pros and cons of ACH processing. There we go. So Who am I? I've been involved in the tech space for over 15 years, and specifically, I've been involved in the shooting sports industry for many, many years. So I've worked anywhere from standard retail to all the way to running a small arms manufacturing company. And in that challenge, one thing that we do understand here is that finding payment solutions for our business is not only a difficult process, it can also be a very expensive process at the end of the day. So what we're looking here to strive for is try to provide cheaper and easier solutions. So what is ACH at the end of the day? ACH is known as the automated clearinghouse. And what that is, it's basically your traditional bank transfer. So it's getting money from one bank account to the other. So there's really no, and kind of the big thing with credit cards and merchant processing is that there's a lot of middle layers. There's a lot of middlemen in the middle. It's not just Visa you're dealing with. You're dealing with Visa, the processor, potentially a reseller, potentially an agent of a reseller, and you can quite go down the rabbit hole. On top of that, there's usually gateway fees, other things just to take that payment. Whereas ACH, it's a relatively more straightforward process where you're just taking cash from the consumer's bank account and bringing it to your bank account. And that's the beauty of this at the end of the day, is that one, it's a simpler process. Two, there's lower fees at the end of the day. And that's kind of the nice thing with all of this. And how does that kind of ACH transaction work? So basically kind of the way it would work from is that, especially if we're doing this from, whether it's from the receiver's account or the originator's account, it's going to go through what's called a depository institute. So this depository institute is going to pull the money, in this case, out of the originator's account. So in this case, you are the receiver and payee, and it's going to then take that. And again, there's a lot of regulations in regards to NACHA and all of that, that have to meet the compliance, especially from the banking level standpoint and the financial institution level. So that money will then get, pulled from that originator's account. It gets processed. The files get cleared. It can be a lengthy process, and then you finally receive that credit, in this case, back into your account, and you finally get that ACH transaction. And the issue with all of that process is that a lot of times, especially in our space, is that clearing process, waiting for those funds to confirm are good, usually takes a while. In most cases with, the traditional ACH that we normally work with, or again, there's some other ACH options, potentially maybe with a local credit union or bank that might be able to offer some of that. But there's not really anything at the grand scale of things as far as, hey, this is what will happen, or we can expedite that. It can usually about a 5 to 7 business day process of seeing ACH funds move from from the originator's account to the receiver's account, or in this case, as far as you guys are concerned, getting paid for a transaction, whether you're selling a gun or anything in that nature. And then, what are the kind of the common cases that we can use ACH for in the shooting sports industries? One, it can be an alternative form of payment method for your e-commerce website. So if you want to offer such things and do things such as dual pricing or cash discounting, that's always been a challenge in the shooting sports industry because there's never been an easy way to be able to take a cash equivalent payment from the website. What we have now is the ability for you to offer ACH processing through your website. So potentially you could look at doing things like dual pricing, cash discounting, other things to that nature. So you can use that as an alternative and a cheaper solution versus taking a traditional credit card. Or, for example, if you're like a shooting range and stuff, one of the nice appealing things of an ACH is that, one, it's a cheaper form of keeping a recurring membership. Not only that, it's not as often that a consumer would switch their bank account compared to getting a new credit card number, stuff like that. Usually a bank account is relatively solid, and it's a more consistent form of receiving payment, especially from a membership standpoint. I'm not sure if anyone's ever been to like if you go to like a Planet Fitness or sign up with, a lot of gym memberships, for example, the majority of the time, they will not even take a credit card on file. A lot of them will require that you put a bank account on file in regards to that. One being that it's cheaper to take that payment, and two is the fact that there's less hassle and less service of having to deal with constantly having to get customers to update their credit card information, things like credit cards expiring, stuff like that kind of adds a little bit of, wrinkles and difficulties, especially to the, from the recurring standpoint. Ideally by being able to present a least resistant form of payment collection model, to your consumers, the better it is for you, especially from a labor standpoint, where you're not having to constantly chase those subscriptions or cancellations, or even just simply, hey, maybe the customer didn't even want to cancel, but he had to close his account for fraud. So now his membership paid. And the other issue is that sometimes they forget about these memberships, and sometimes you may not be able to reacquire that business again at the end of the day. Maybe they've moved on, or maybe they're just busy and they just don't want to go through the hassle of having to re-sign up for you. So that's where ACH kind of really gives you a huge bonus from a membership standing, is that it's going to create a consistency, and it's going to create a consistency that something's less likely where the consumer is going to lose that bank account, whereas compared to them no longer having access or having that same credit card number, or it expiring, or things like that. What are traditional credit card payments? So traditional credit card payments is always a very complicated and very, confusing topic, right? There is no fixed rate from a credit card, unless you're using, for example, like a flat rate plan through your credit card processor. coreCLEAR does offer flat rate processing, so no matter how you take your payment, it's always one rate. So with most of us here in the space, a lot of us are what's called a interchange plus model, where we're getting provided the wholesale rate, and us as the processor just apply a small markup to processing that transaction. The actual majority of the fees on your merchant statement come from Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover directly. And as you look at your statement, you'll see a bunch of different numbers and stuff, rates, all that. And it's crazy how much the effect can balloon. So right over here, I've just grabbed a screenshot. And again, this is all public information. A lot of processors will try to say, hey, it's not that easy to find or easy to get. But it's very easy to pull up what interchange is from Visa directly or MasterCard. You just simply have to Google Visa interchange reimbursement fees or MasterCard interchange reimbursement fees. And it'll give you the breakdown. In this case, the Visa link itself is probably about 10 plus pages, which again, it covers different scenarios, retails, industries, as far as what rate they charge. So when we come to the concept of what does it take, for example, to take a payment online with a credit card, for most of us that aren't on a flat rate pricing, it's a hard question to answer, just because for the simple fact that you can go anywhere from rates from as low as 1.8% for a card not present transaction for a Visa, all the way up to 3 and 4%, especially if it's in a B2B environment. It's a business credit card, or just simply, like in this case, what we're looking at, it's a high rewards Visa, where the consumer is getting a lot of cash back and other aspects of that transaction. So that's one thing we want to keep in mind. It doesn't hurt at the end of the day to go look at your statements and look at where am I getting dinged as far as, these are where I'm spending a lot. And in a lot of the cases where you really get, see a lot of these higher interchange tables are these card not present environments. In general, they're always going to carry a higher level of cost for taking payment. And as Visa and MasterCard continually raise these rates, and again, these tables usually get changed and updated about 2 to 3 times a year, a lot of categories get increased in pricing. So it's not going to be a trend, unfortunately, that's going to go away. Our costs for taking merchant processing or credit cards is just going to continue to increase. So we want to have ways where we can offer alternative forms where us as business owners can take that form of payment at a much lesser cost. The more we can save on taking payments, the better it is at the end of the day. Will this replace credit cards at the end of the day with ACH? Of course not. It's not going to at the end of the day. Consumers are very adopted with their credit cards. Consumers love their cashback rewards, points, all of that, miles. There's a lot of rewards, and there's also the convenience of using a credit card as compared to using ACH. In the sense, and again, a lot of consumers will do that also for, again, protection for themselves from retailers, especially when it comes to either failure delivery of goods, stuff like that. So there's a lot of benefits that the credit cards do offer, but from a merchant standpoint, being able to offer, an alternative form of payment that costs you less at the end of the day is always a good solution. It's not only that, but having ways to take payments outside of the credit card space is always a good option, especially as our industry continues to get attacked. And unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like that's a trend that's ever going to disappear at the end of the day. So the more we can protect ourselves, the more alternatives we can provide, the better it is for us at the end of the day. Now, let's talk about what is the cost comparison. ACH with coreCLEAR is super simple. It's just a flat rate 1% per transaction, whereas credit cards, for card not present, can be anywhere from 2 to 4% plus 15 cents and 30 cents a transaction. You know, if you do a lot of volume and you think you do a lot of ACH, we are able to kind of bring some of those rates lower, but in general, we just charge a flat rate 1%. And that's it. There's no other fees associated. There is a small monthly fee. It's like 25 bucks for the ACH, though a lot of the times we usually waive that. But if you're just not really doing more than 1 or 2 transactions a month, there's just like a 25 per month. But in general, the ACH is just a flat 1% per transaction. And we do support it for the e-commerce. And this is the nice thing, and this is where it's been a challenge with, and I can speak a little bit more about this. I've been very passionate of trying to find a ACH solution within the shooting sports industry, just because it's very difficult for the average, mom and pop retailer to do so. The ones that do support it, are either very antiquated, they don't really offer, and it's long funding times, meaning 5 to 7+ business days before you actually see a deposit. So it makes it very impractical. At the end of the day, from an e-commerce standpoint, where you want to be able to receive that and ship those orders out a little bit quicker. Now, what are the downsides of ACH processing? So compared to like a credit card and everything, with a credit card chargeback, with merchant processing, there's a middle layer, right? You have to respond back to the ladder. There's a case, Visa or the issuing bank. Let me look at this message that someone. Oh, okay. So Wiseman, I'm literally answering that question right now. So with ACH, with merchant processing, right? There's a middle layer that's helping, that's negotiating through that dispute process if that consumer files a dispute. Now, the downside of merchant processing with disputes, especially in a card not present environment, even if you provide all the evidence, the tracking, everything of that, the unfortunate reality of stats is that 92% of those dispute cases, and this is a national figure across all processors and credit cards and all of that, is that 92% of the time, you as the merchant are going to lose that dispute. This is an unfortunate reality, and this is unfortunately very unfair on how Visa, MasterCard treat the retailer at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, they're looking to protect their consumers and their customers, and they'd rather give them the win, especially in those kind of environments. Now, with a card present, you're usually well more protected because there's more proof with that EMV transaction. That's another reason why we're so adamant that if you are getting into e-commerce, especially in the shooting sports industry, you need to sign up with something like nofraud.com that will offer you 100% protection on e-commerce orders. Give me 1 second. Oh, now my presentation just messed up. Let me get back over here. Bill, I'm having an issue. Can you see my screen again?
Yep, you're good.
Appreciate that. So if you are selling online, one of the big things that you want to do is you definitely want to protect yourself. So regardless, at the end of the day, you do want to get signed up with No Fraud. That's going to protect you at the end of the day, because unfortunately, Visa, MasterCard are not looking at your best interest as the retailer. Now, the downside with ACH, though, in regards to the merchant processing, is that because there is no middle layer, you're just direct with the customer at the end of the day. You are responsible. For example, if you do get a chargeback or a dispute, there is no middle layer to review the case or help you along. You do have to deal with the customer directly. Now, the positives of a bank dispute is that it's much harder to file a bank dispute compared to a credit card dispute, whereas with a credit card, you just simply have to go on the website, click dispute, and it's that easy. It's a couple clicks. Usually it's a little bit more of a harder process through the bank side. So that's just kind of that's honestly probably one of the biggest downsides with the ACH processing, is that if there are disputes or issues with funding, is that all issues have to be worked out directly with the consumer at the end of the day, and resolved that way. So that's just an important thing to kind of remember and take away from all of this. How fast is the ACH funding with us? We're very fast. So one of the things that's super exciting is that traditional ACH funding takes about 5 to 7 days for settlement houses to clear. With us, we're funding a transaction in 48 hours. So what does that mean? You receive an ACH payment on Monday, you get the payment on Wednesday. It's that simple. And one of the things that we are striving and kind of currently kind of our whole tech stack is moving towards is we're getting to the point where this time next year, we're going to be offering not only hopefully next day ACH funds, meaning you get an ACH payment on Monday, you'll get the deposit Tuesday. But we're working on getting same day settlement for ACH processing is where our goal is going to at the end of the day. Meaning it would be relatively no different than receiving a cash payment at the, yes, just like receiving a cash payment at the register. One of the things that we're expanding upon, by the end of this year is being able to, one, using leveraging systems that are able to verify that consumer's account information, not only verify the account holder and account owner's information, but also verify that the funds are there and available for withdrawal. So all of this is going to be an automated process where that will protect you. Now, none of this is right now available as of yet, but that's a lot of the stuff that you'll see coming here, kind of in the near future. But as of today, we're able to process those transactions and deposit those in 48 hours. So basically just a 1 day hold, 1 day deposit for clearing. Whereas most processors or ACH providers are taking about 5 to 7 days, especially within our space. Now, the downside and kind of some of the common reject codes you'll see as far as, kind of in the space and kind of more from an educational perspective. The three most common being R01, R07, and R29. R01 usually has to do with an insufficient fund balance. Now, again, that's something we are going to be resolving, that even as the customer goes to submit the payment, we are going to end up in the future being able to verify those funds before we even allow the funds to go through. So that's kind of a major plus, but that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind, that if that customer submitted that payment, but they didn't have the money, sometimes those bounces, how often do we see that? I don't, just to be honest, we don't really see it that often. Usually most people who are using the ACH method currently with us, and especially from a consumer standpoint, are usually submitting with balances available. I'm not saying it's impossible to happen, but it does happen from time to time. So it's one thing that you may see. Now these two next ones are kind of usually more common. You'll be seeing an R07 and R29. Usually that just means it's not authorized. And usually there can be a plethora of reasons why they didn't authorize it. It could be just the customer saying, hey, I didn't authorize this debit from my bank account, or whatever it might be at the end of the day. Business isn't authorized, especially depending on the SEC code, or, if it was sent over as either a web or a CCD SEC code. It can kind of vary the different responses. But usually during those are relatively easy clear. And what we usually do is we'll let you know, saying, hey, sometimes you may have to reach out to your customer and tell them to whitelist, our specific processor IDs. Because again, for whatever reason, their bank may not have recognized it. I may have just blocked it just as a security precaution. Usually once you provide that and the customer provides those processor IDs, it's usually pretty straightforward. So it's not really that difficult to process at the end of the day. But those are kind of some of the common scenarios and errors and kind of other things you might run into, especially as you start beginning to use and get into the ACH world. It looks like I already skipped this a little bit. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the ACH disputes and credit card. So the biggest summary of that is that, one, you'll have to deal with the consumer directly if for whatever reason there's a dispute for a transaction with ACH at the end of the day. Okay, now we've got some other exciting news that I'm going to talk a little bit more about. So we are now offering ATM service for retailers. So if you've ever been curious about being able to offer an ATM at your location or have that as an option, it's a great way to have an ability to say, a lot of times, customers may have to run off to the bank to go grab money, and maybe they don't have, may not come back at the end of the day during the bank run. So being able to have an ATM there is not only a nice little bit of a convenience but it's also another option to be able to add to customers. Maybe, again, if some of our customers that we deal with, maybe don't really like the credit card world and they prefer to deal with cash, it's great just being able that they can grab the cash there and be able to pay. And just kind of add a little bit of convenience. Not only that, it's also a little bit of income you can be able to earn for yourself or in your store at the end of the day. So we have two different options with our new ATM program, which we're really excited to offer. Option A is you just buy the machine outright. You have to load it with your own cash. So you're in charge of keeping the cash stocked of everything. But the positive of this is that you keep 100% of the surcharge fee. So as you know, if you go to like an ATM that's out of your bank's network or anything, you know, you can pay anywhere from $2.50 to, you know, some places charge as much as $5 to be able to pull money out of that account. We charge, since we're doing the processing, but you own everything else, we just charge a flat dollar. So anything you charge above $1 on the surcharge, you get to keep. So if you want to charge the customer $3 to pull cash out, you can you pocket $2 for every time that happens. So it's a great way to make a little bit of extra money and kind of offer a little bit of convenience to your customer, you know, if they're wanting to grab cash or prefer to pay cash at your store at the end of the day. Or if, again, if you just want to use it as a nice service, you can usually just keep it as $1.10 if you just keep 10 cents. And then again, we just handle the rest of the processing and it's all set. And right now we are selling the Halo 2 series of ATMs, and which is a very nice, it's not a, you know, it doesn't take up a lot of retail space. It doesn't have a very large footprint. But the nice thing is that the price, you know, is a very, you know, the price does include the delivery and the tech installation going out there. So that's all handled. The normal price we're going to be selling these units is going to be $2,999. For this webinar special only, it's going to be $2,750. So if you've ever been curious about owning an ATM or wanting to kind of get a little bit or add that to the store, you know, definitely hit us up and we can definitely talk more about it with you. Another thing that is coming with these and will be installed day one with the ATMs, and it's part of kind of, again, part of our larger plan of alternative payments, is that these ATMs will actually have the ability, if you want, to be able to buy Bitcoin from the ATM. And that's going to be part of a future offering, hopefully we'll have at the end of the year, where you'll actually be able to take crypto payments as part of either your core store point of sale environment or your core force e-commerce environment. So again, our goal is to have all kinds of different payment options to be able to take and pay and service your customers, and never have to worry about being locked out of one payment solution with no ability to take a payment any other way. So it's always good to diversify and be able to add these different options. And not only that, it does cater to a lot of different customers that you may not have attracted, but if you tell customers you may take crypto, you know, again, maybe it might attract them, or you've got better, you know, an easy way to pay with cash there. And that also helps to be able to offer, you know, things like cash discounting or stuff as you're, you know, dealing with that customer at that point, to be able to not only give them that discount, but give them the convenience of being able to fulfill that deal without them having to leave that retail, without them having to leave your store. Option B, if you would like an ATM, but you don't want to spend the money to buy an ATM, we will actually place one of our ATMs at your store for no cost. The only downside of this is you're just not going to make as much money. Usually it's going to be about 50 cents per transaction. And the surcharge fee is kind of dependent on the area of the country, but the surcharge that we're going to be charging is about $3.50 to $4 for that ATM transaction. But again, there's no other costs. You're just got an ATM there. We're going to load the cash. We're going to handle it. We're going to manage it. You don't need to do anything. So two options. So there's two options right there. So if you want to have an ATM, but you really don't want to spend the money to buy, and you don't really want to manage and load the machine with your cash and everything, option B is a great solution. We can get an ATM there installed, and it's right there available. And after this, if you guys have any questions or would like to learn more, definitely contact us. One of our sales team members can definitely talk to you more about it. And we can definitely go over that. So we're really trying to, you know, expand our cash offerings as far as, hey, you know, you don't always have to pay customer with an expensive credit card. Let's give you an easy way to pay with cash or some other way. So summary, always pros and cons with everything, but there's a lot of benefits with offering ACH One. It gives you a little bit of a cheaper way to take a payment versus a traditional credit card at the end of the day. You know, one thing that we're going to keep in mind is that, you know, unfortunately, these credit card rates are probably going to keep increasing. And it's just not something we're going to have much control of at the end of the day. If you guys are interested in getting started with the ACH, again, just reach out to us. We'll definitely get a link. I think Joel will post the link. Did I share that link with you for the application form?
No, but it will be included in the description of the video on YouTube, and we'll send it out in today's Core Weekly. Hey,
Yeah.
and Lindsay,
Okay,
it's probably going to be too heavy. They bolt those things in, don't they, Aaron?
Say it again.
They bolt the actual ATM in, right? Or do they just set it on the floor? I know they're very heavy.
You know, that's a good question. It's very heavy, but I don't think they bolt it completely. But I'll get clarification on that. That's a
Okay.
good
Yeah,
question.
but Lindsay, I don't think you would want to take it to a gun show.
I will, Joel, if you can put a note, let me follow up. I'll follow up with Lindsay directly because I don't
Okay.
think they're bolted at the door, to be honest. So
Okay.
I think they potentially will be there. And the nice thing is, you know, they do have cellular capability, so they would run on a cell phone, for example. Or not, I'm sorry, they don't run on a cell phone. So they're running on their own little, and because of the ATM that's carried, it's their own encrypted cell
Oh
service
yeah.
system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they would be able to run. So there's two ways to connect the ATM is either through a Cat5 or an Ethernet cable or through the cellular. Majority of the time it's the cellular.
Okay.
If yeah, and we can definitely get more, but I'll make sure to follow up with that.
And Dylan had an interesting question as well. If I already own an ATM machine, can we load coreCLEAR into it for processing?
At this time, no, it's something we're looking to explore, but at this time, from what we've researched and what we've looked at, it's a very, very difficult process. And one thing you would have to check with your ATM, one of the things that you have to check with your ATM provider is that if you're under contract specifically to use their processing. Usually there's a lot of those times they're locked in, especially if you're using like a loader service where someone else is loading the cash right into your ATM. You know, usually they have stipulations on who's doing the processing. It's usually their processing at the end of the day. Great question on the cellular part.
Yeah.
So the cellular part is the cellular part is either 0 if we're putting the machine. If it's not, I believe the cellular is like $19 or $30 a month, but it's unlimited data and everything. So it's just everything. And unfortunately, it has to be through the manufacturer for the cellular. I'm sorry, the manufacturer through the ATM for their cellular because they have to do a specific encryption and everything within the machine.
Right.
But with that said, you don't have to use the cellular. You can literally just run an Ethernet cable to the machine. Or, you know, if you got like an outlet nearby, you can literally get like a Wi-Fi adapter and just plug the Wi-Fi adapter, I believe, into the Ethernet port of a Wi-Fi adapter, kind of like what you do with our 8500 terminals now.
Right. Hey, so I just giving everybody a chance to catch up. If you have a question, this is probably the most exciting thing I've heard like in months, Aaron. When you said ATMs, we're doing the webinar on ATM. I'm like, what? I don't get it, you know? And I know you're busy. You don't have time to, this is kind of a big deal for you to be here and do this, but that is massive, man. I mean, really, because you're not looking at, they're not buying Cokes, right? They're not going to go to the ATM to buy a Coke or a candy bar. They're going to the ATM to buy a $500 to $1,000 gun. And I'll be honest with you, I'll pay $5 for the convenience of having cash right there rather than driving to the bank, wherever the bank is. I mean, it's just, you're paying for that convenience. It's a luxury.
Well, so it's not only that, Joel, it's also, you could put on Google Maps, for example, there's an ATM at your store. People could come stop by and get cash and maybe they get more foot traffic just as another thing.
Huge. That's thinking out of the box, man. I love that.
Yeah. So a lot of times from a strategic standpoint, stores will put the ATMs deep in the store just to get the customer wandering in there.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Lindsay. A lot of people do want to pay cash at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
The problem with paying cash, a lot of times when people walk into that gun store, it's impulse, right? Most customers aren't prepared with cash ready, and especially at that large a dollar amount. That's the downfall of today's age is that, a lot of people aren't carrying a huge wad of cash on them at all times. Right. Like I'm a great example. I carry maybe $10 on me at the most.
Right.
So if I see a gun there, I'm like, oh, I want to get that. And I'm like, I want to pay cash. Well, now it becomes less of an interest because now I got to go to the bank. I got to go somewhere else, all of that. And and there's also the political climate too, Lindsay. That's a great point. I appreciate the comments. People just are getting more hesitant of using cards because they don't want to feel like they're being tracked at the end of the day. Even though we know we're all tracked, sometimes we still want to have a little bit of privacy, and that's where having these cash options,
right,
and these alternative payment options, are very beneficial for the business. And people might be wondering, coreCLEAR's in the credit card industry, right? Why are we trying to divulge our own interests? Well, we're not really, because our interest at the end of the day is supporting small business.
Right.
We see the trends, we see the things. So by being able to prepare and fortify and offer more alternative payment methods, that's where we're trying to strive for, is that your business is protected and you've got alternative means to taking besides one of the big guys at the end of the day and rely on them. Yeah, Eric, the ACH is available today, as of today. You can just shoot me a quick text, Eric, and with any questions you might have on that. But yeah, we're ready to go. We've already been processing. We already have some relatively large customers that have been running it through our beta, and we've been dabbling in it a lot longer, but we finally have landed with a bank that we're super happy with that offers the better funding times. So, and that's part of, and they're sharing a tech roadmap with us that's really going to take us to this next level of being able to not only offer next day funding for ACH, but be able to offer real-time settlement, which is our goal at the end of the day, is being able to offer real-time settlement for these ACH or cash transactions.
Hey, Aaron, is there an ATM locator portal for all ATMs? I
don't
sure
know,
Google
but usually like when I think about it, when I look for an ATM, I go to Google and I just type in ATM. And usually it's people who have tagged or put a map locator of where an ATM is. With usually
so there you go. Yeah, that may be a pro tip there. That's awesome. Wow. Hey, this is really exciting. Let me ask you this though, because I know probably in our industry, there's a lot of this industry is on the right of things, right? So when you hear the Republican nominee speaking at the Bitcoin conference, it probably piques people's interest because that's like a cloudy world for a lot of people. Can you just barely touch on exactly
no, it's actually
what
a great
Bitcoin
question.
is? Yeah.
And one thing we're wanting to hopefully change, one of the things we're working on right now, but we're not quite yet there. We are working on a specific crypto gateway, so you'll be able to take crypto payments both in store and online. One of the nice things with crypto at the end of the day is you can't dispute a crypto transaction. To me, that's a major plus. So when that person pays with crypto, you're never getting a chargeback, you're never getting a dispute. The transaction is finished. It's a final, and not only that, it's decentralized.
Right.
Which means, it's privacy, stuff like that. There's a lot of benefits. And with Bitcoin becoming more popular and continuing to grow, especially for the younger generations, that are into the crypto, they're looking for ways to purchase using their crypto investments and everything like that. So we are going to be offering, and that's why part of why we went with these also, these specific ATM machines, these Halo 2s, is that they supported the ability to purchase Bitcoin from there as well. So customers can actually be able to buy either Bitcoin, pull out cash, especially if they're just wanting to, again, there are many reasons, if they want to further protect their privacy or other things, we're going to have that capability. And you as the store owner are going to be in a very, very nice position because you're giving the convenience of all these different options for your customer and making it easy for them to shop with you their way and with the way they want to pay.
Wow, that's awesome, man. This is some really exciting stuff. Aaron, you're the master of downplaying things because I didn't know this was going to be this exciting. I'm like, this is freaking huge, man. Throw an ATM in your shop, for crying out loud. If it doesn't cost you anything, literally, if you want us to do it, I mean, you're still getting 50 cents per transaction, and it's taken up that space is not making you any money anyway, right? So use those 3 or 4 square feet, right, to throw an ATM in there and earn 50 cents per transaction on it. That's huge, man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of opportunities. We've got some other stuff that we're working on up our sleeve, so we're going to be looking forward to talking and sharing more with the whole coreCLEAR family with everything on all of this. But yeah, no, we're super excited about this. And the ACH has unfortunately been a very difficult process, and one I've been spending years and years, digging and researching and trying to find the right upstream partners for coreCLEAR to partner up with that were one, freedom friendly, 2A friendly, and really support it. So just to add a little bit further, our bank partner is actually very heavily in the CBD and cannabis space. So they're very freedom oriented. So we're not worried about any cancellations or anything to that sense.
Wow. Let's see. Yeah. Lindsay and Eric. This is really exciting stuff. This is huge, man. This is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Finance stuff's usually really boring, but this was really, really exciting. Does anyone have any more questions? Like, you've got literally the brain of coreCLEAR here right now. So if you have questions, I mean, this is kind of a big deal to be able to nail the time down to ask him. So anyone. He'll take personal questions too, like what's his favorite food, who are his favorite people.
The hint is it's not Joel.
Whoa! Hopefully you're talking about food, man. I know you're not a cannibal.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
all right.
I don't see any questions rolling in.
I don't either.
Again, if anybody that's watching this webinar afterwards and not in the live session, just contact us. Just contact the sales channel, contact our live chat. We can definitely help you out.
Hey guys, and I'm going to try something new with all of our webinars. I'm literally going to create a bot that takes everything that the presenter says, and you'll be able to query this bot. So if you're just getting here, or you want to just go query the bot, you'll be able to ask this thing questions. So be on the lookout for that next week. And anything that was covered in this this webinar, you'll be able to query the bot on, and it should be able to answer just like Aaron. I saw 6 come in. Is that all?
Yeah, I believe so. There's a few questions that just came in too.
Okay.
First question would be, what's coreCLEAR on memberships in Corella? Right now, the Corella platform is not going to be able to support ACH right off the bat, but it is something that's being worked on. ACH is available immediately on the CoreForce platform. And you'll also have the ability to have a virtual terminal. We're waiting to kind of expand. We're trying to figure out the best way to do it from a core store perspective. In theory, if you want, someone comes in store, they don't want to grab cash, or they just want to pay with an ACH. Usually these ACHs are more from a e-commerce perspective. But if you get someone in store, the best way to do it is just have them check out online with the ACH option, and you're good to go. And then Lindsay had a question about the beginning. Are CC fees increasing? The answer is, Lindsay, they're always changing. They're both increasing, decreasing. Usually Visa will put out quarterly reports, same with MasterCard. Again, it's very easy. All this data is available online. It's public. You just have to Google Visa interchange tables, and you can look at all the current rates. But again, keep in mind, if you're on coreCLEAR and you're on our 25/25 plan, it's never a concern for you, just because you're always charged one rate, whether it's taken in store or online. And that flat rate price is only 2.5% plus 25 cents a transaction. Which, again, with a lot of other flat rate programs, you'll see different flat rates depending if it's taken in store, online, all that. We keep it very simple here with our flat rate plans. Just to confirm. Okay. Yes, correct, Eric. Yeah, ACH is available. So you'll have, and you can call it whatever you want, but right now it shows up as like eCheck, though you can rename it to ACH or whatever, but it is available right now for the Core Fire system, or CoreForce, I should say. Yes, just credit card transactions in Corella at the moment, but it's something we're working on. And then, yeah, so if you are using CoreForce, yeah, and that's actually one thing we'll get that updated, is that we'll have the ACH support for the invoice system in Core Store, because that'll be beneficial. Just reach out to a live chat or just contact our support team that you're interested in getting set with ACH, and one of our salespeople, more than likely myself, will be reaching out to you and we'll help you get set up. And we'll also be sending out, or if you like everything you saw, again, the ACH is very simple. You'll just fill out the application online and you're good to go. And then with the ACH, there are a few supporting documents. I'll go ahead and just kind of add this with the application. With ACH processing, for the application process, there are a few supporting documents we need. One, you need to do the application online. And two, we do need 3 months of bank statements as part of the ACH application, just to confirm ACH volumes and other things for the support of whatever, again, whatever parameters you're putting into the application. Outside of that, we have everything else, since you've already done your merchant application with us, and we just submit that. And usually our approval times are pretty quick. Usually we can get you approved within, I want to say about 48 hours, but honestly, we were pretty good at getting it set up the next day just because it's a lot less intensive compared to a merchant application for the credit cards.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I've got.
All right, guys, music's coming back, and this has been a banger of a webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Good.
Thank you, everybody, who came out and attended.
Absolutely. Hey, Aaron, don't get off once we end because I need your portion.
Yeah, I saw it about the upload and stuff for all that.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We can't wait to see you in the next one. Be on the lookout for that bot next week so you can question this webinar like you were actually here. So it'll be in the description of the YouTube video. With that, we are out of here.
To please, so let's raise a toast to the clarity we bring with coreCLEAR in your corner.